Right, what was Zeus like as a coach to work with? Because you gave a little hint there about some of the conversations you had. If people don't know, he's also a guy where I would actually say, like, one thing that impresses me is there are some coaches where they do just try and be rah-rah and blow smoke up everyone's arse, or just that they're only the X's and O's guys. They're just like the nerd, like, do this, do that, and then they leave the captain stuff out. I almost felt like he was the captain of Liquid in some ways, mate. Like, I noticed he had like a really sort of like a big personality as a coach.
Yeah, so when I first joined the team, and obviously, playing obviously with Nitro again, Nitro reminded me of like Stan somewhat, like not personality wise. I mean, like personality wise somewhat, but like the main thing that I realized is like Nitro wasn't like a huge guy with bringing up like confrontation and being like the person to start it, and all that and obviously, it's like Nick, he was just like that soldier player that was just like an entry player at the start, and I'm sure he never imagined becoming an in-game leader and like leading teams and like telling people what to do and all that, and then also just becoming an opper as well. But so he was never that player that loved to just initiate confrontation and be like, yo, like, why do you have beef with this player? Or, like, what's wrong with this guy? Or like, what's going on? It would always be like Zeus that always had to start it, and I think maybe that got some good things out of players, but I also saw that as like a downfall for some players because it just felt like Zeus was like the dad of the team, and like if anybody had issues, they would just go to Zeus, and then like Zeus would talk about it or something like that. And like I felt like the players weren't taking a lot of responsibility at the times to like handle things and just handle it like just man to man, like to themselves. And I think that was in like a lot of aspects of the team where like a lot of the players would go to Zeus for like the answer to something, and I feel like that took away from players from owning up to themselves and being responsible for themselves and like just being like their own man, So I just felt like that had its positives, but I feel like at times that definitely had its downfalls and like negatives for sure.
You said yourself earlier. Oh, go on, keep going.
Oh, I was gonna say, but like I guess like more about like as Zeus as a coach, I guess to explain is like, yeah, no, I mean Zeus. I guess like the good thing about Zeus is like he was good, like strategic wise. Obviously he played on like the SK and Luminosity when he was coaching that team. Two-time major champs. And so he had a lot of experience and all that. So I'm sure, I guess, like you can understand like why the players, I guess, maybe looked up to him so much, maybe to the point where it was a little too much. But he was good strategically and like mental wise and like emotions. Like he was like pretty good, and like he was always hype, getting the players up, like especially with like on Liquid, there was never like a lot of times where they had like this hype person, just like always like hyping players up. It was always like, again, relying again on Zeus maybe to be that hype guy behind us to like cheer everybody up and all that. So, but yeah, no, he was good strategic wise, mentally and like for everybody, for the team and all that, motivation wise, like everything. Like he was good. He was a good coach for that time period for sure.
One thing that people might not even know as well is he actually was someone where he wasn't just like a guy who does like the day-to-day coaching. He actually does try to think almost like when I do the narratives, if I'm allowed to do that, I'm like a fucking guy outside the game. I'm making it like the movie version. But he does believe in like history and greatness and stuff. So I remember he was even telling me, like when it was at the end of 2018 almost, and you'd had all those losses to Astralis. Dude, I remember him once asking me stuff like what were the matchups in CS history where there was a problem like this, like the number 2 or 3 team couldn't beat the number 1 team, and I was trying to give him examples, like, well, obviously, like your SK team used to lose to Fnatic, and then Na'Vi used to lose to this team here, and he was always trying to find like some extra angle. Like, is there some tweak we can do? Is there some extra thing we could do? It seemed like he had quite a good competitive mindset too.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, I don't know, like, obviously, I don't really know too much about Zeus' history, like what he did, like when he was younger and all that, but yeah, no, like I don't know. He definitely had that personality to be a coach or like be like someone that was like more authoritative, I guess in terms of like talking to players and like running teams and making sure everybody's on time doing their thing, So, I mean, he would always find like ways and things to think about and like always want to be the first person to like, innovate something new and all that. But I mean, it's hard for me to remember during that time, but yeah, no, he was definitely probably one of the more better coaches. Maybe, yeah. It's hard to say what the best coach is, but because I only believe coaches can only do so much.
Yes,
so,
of course.
But yeah. I think he was like a good coach to have, just in terms of just who he was as a person and like the things that he brought. And I don't know if that was from past experience and what he's done in his life. I don't know if it was like sports or military. I have no idea. So. He was a good coach for sure.
See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.